So it's been a week since Final Fantasy XVI released, and Square Enix has revealed the game's sales numbers, and they're pretty impressive. Before we get into the news, if you guys could click the like button, subscribe, and hit that bell icon with a phoenix shift, that would be much appreciated. So this info comes to us directly from the official Final Fantasy XVI Twitter page, where they've announced that the game has shipped and digitally sold 3 million copies on PlayStation 5. Now, the wording is a tiny bit confusing since the term shipped normally doesn't equate to an actual sale, but it has been used in place of sale before by some companies. The sales numbers are very strong, putting 16 in line with Final Fantasy VII Remake, which sold 3.5 million copies in its first 3 days of release, but falling under Final Fantasy XV's 5 million copies sold in its first week of release. 15 is a bit of an oddball though, since those numbers include a much larger install base of PlayStation 4s and Xbox Ones. Plus, that game had more time in the public eye, a movie, and a very long and troubled development cycle, which featured a multitude of free demos. Other big releases include Street Fighter VI, selling over 1 million copies in its first week, and Resident Evil 4 Remake selling 3 million units in its first 2 days of release. Overall, these sales numbers are strong and something that should be considered a success. Sure, there are people online already downplaying the numbers, saying that it's a failure because it came in under Final Fantasy XV and that it should have done God of War Ragnarok numbers. But that's comparing apples to oranges here. God of War is currently in a renaissance after the game was able to reinvent itself with the release of God of War 2018, completely reshaping the identity of that franchise, which oddly enough is kind of the situation that Final Fantasy is in with games like 7 Remake and 16 right now. God of War also had the benefit of being cross-gen, also releasing on the PlayStation 4. 16 is currently released on PlayStation 5's install base that is smaller, but expanding with the chip shortages ending and more consoles being available to find in a much easier fashion. Should these numbers continue to remain strong, and I think they will from strong word of mouth, great reviews, and that playable demo existing, I think it's only a matter of time before Yoshi P and CBU3 announce DLC, because clearly people are interested in what 16 is doing. The game features a strong cast of characters, a great story, incredible music, and gameplay that keeps opening up the more you progress the story. I think it's only a matter of time before Final Fantasy fans who wrote this game off decide to give it a chance to see what all the hype is truly about. Before we end the video, let's take a look at the community poll that I posted the other day, asking which version of Final Fantasy XVI did you buy? And what do you know, looking at the results, 50% of you bought the game physically and 50% of you bought the game digitally. I'm hoping that Square does give us more clarification on these sales numbers. It would be really interesting to see how many copies were sold digitally and how many copies were sold physically, because if you also jump back into the day where Final Fantasy XV released, digital obviously was a thing, but it wasn't really as prevalent as it is now. People were still buying their games, majority, through physical copies. Unfortunately for me, I only recently got my hands on the game because Best Buy decided to ship my game through UPS Ground, which is very slow, the night before it was scheduled to release. So I ended up getting the game 6 days later, yesterday, and I'm only just now getting to play it, but I'm making some pretty great progress through the game. I'm having an absolute blast. The combat is so much fun, and I can't wait to actually finish this game to really experience the story and perhaps do a full review on the game, talking about the story, the characters, the gameplay, the music, all that fun stuff. Kind of like what I did with my Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion review, which was a pretty big undertaking, but also a lot of fun to put together. But that is pretty much the video. Let me know in the comments down below, what do you guys think of these sales numbers for Final Fantasy XVI? Are they where you thought they would be? Did you think they would be lower? Are you underwhelmed with these sales numbers, or do you think it's just right? And how are you guys feeling about the game overall? I am Curious Corduroy. I will see you guys in the next video. Please remember to always be excellent to one another.